Now it says go, so we're all ready to go. Welcome again. I'm so appreciative of you all being here today. I'm wearing a headset that probably makes me look kind of funny. It's the headset that I usually wear when I'm doing my radio shows. And I hope you all can hear me. If you can't, go ahead and send me a message, but it looks like we're doing well so far. Just to give you a little bit of background about me, I originally started out doing animal communication as a profession, and it felt like I wanted to kind of round out my round out my profession with some physical things. So I started looking up what else I could do with animals, and canine massage therapy came up. And the really interesting thing is, once I signed up for the course at RMSAAM to become certified as a canine massage therapist here in the state of Colorado, I walked into the room where it was held at that point in time, and there's this really cool picture of a wolf on the wall, and I heard in my ear, being an intuitive already, "So you're here already? Well, it's nice to have you here." And at the end of that course, a colleague of mine, a classmate, turned to me and said, "You know, I think you would really like Reiki." So from that point on, I went to get my certification as a Reiki master teacher. So that's just a little bit about who I am and how I got to be here today. I think it's fair to say that I probably make the majority of my living doing intuitive services, things like animal communication, definitely Reiki with some animals and with people, doing some soul retrieval work. We can talk about that a little bit if you'd like toward the end of our presentation today. Some intuitive readings for people, definitely medium work, speaking with animals and humans that have already crossed over. It's really fun. It's my passion. I love doing it, and I'm delighted to be able to share just a little piece of it with you today. This presentation was actually something that I put together as kind of a first step to learning about animal communication. I think everybody has an intuitive muscle. It's easy enough to locate. Sometimes we think that, you know, when we're working with our intuition that, oh gosh, it's something that other people have but not me. I flunked meditation. I can't ever quiet my mind down. I think there's a lot of things sometimes that can get in the way with us accessing our intuitive muscle. But I'd invite you to kind of relax, take some breaths, and know that you have an intuitive muscle just like anybody else does, and it's easy enough to access once you know where it is, what its function is, what the languages are that it speaks. And we'll also definitely run over some tools that you all can use to kind of help flex your intuitive muscle, if you will. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm a big fan of science, actually, and this came from one of my favorites, Albert Einstein. "It is better to believe than to disbelieve. In so doing, you bring everything to the realm of possibility." And what I liked about him in particular, because we are going to be talking about science a little bit this evening, because we're going to be dealing with the physical body, we're going to be dealing with things like bioelectric fields and energy, so that's definitely science related. And I think science, to a certain degree, really plays an important role in our lives. I think science helps us to explain things about our lives that we interpret through our five senses, and it helps us to kind of ground out through the things that we're interpreting through our senses out through the physical, and really helps us, I think, to feel comfortable with dealing with things like intuition. So certainly we've had other scientific discoveries that have really changed the world. You know, we're talking about gravity, the theory of relativity, electricity, I think, was a big one, sound waves. If you think about things like sound waves and X-rays, these are things that science has discovered that we know exist, but we can't see necessarily with the human eye, with the naked human eye. So it was a big deal when science discovered things like sound waves and about X-rays. There was once a point in time where science believed that animals didn't feel pain. We know that that's now not true. Science also believed that animals could not possibly have the smarts to use tools like humans, and we also know that that's also not true. It was believed that animals couldn't communicate, most specifically because I think we perceive that they don't speak English, and being a tad arrogant at times, I think the human animal, we've certainly disproven that species like elephants, dolphins, orcas have a well-established and quite broad vocabulary that they can communicate within their species, to be sure. And I think we're just starting to see evidence of interspecies communications happening as well, and we can talk about that a little bit as well. And it's been discovered by science that every single thought and emotion that we have is stored in the cells of our physical body. The same thing, of course, happens to animals as well, because their physical composition is not really any different than our physical composition. And again, keep in mind we're going to be talking about the attributes of the physical body. Everybody who's listening tonight has had stress play a role in their life, unfortunately, at some point or another. That's both good stress as well as bad stress. You've all felt the effects of some negative stress. You might have headaches, you might get stomach aches, you might start to breathe in a really shallow manner. Positive stress, although it's positive, things like a wedding, the birth of a baby, different things like that, a job promotion, very positive things, but they're also still stressful. And our bodies, science has proven that our bodies also stores the positive emotions of the emotions and thoughts of positive stress in our physical selves as well. And these emotions, of course, can cause our energy field to shift and to change. I'm not sure that we're here yet, and this again was by one of my favorites, Thomas Edison. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will interest his patients in the care of the human frame, in diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease. Well, certainly we have alternative medicine. We have naturopaths, we have allopaths, we have energy healers, we have Reiki practitioners, we have massage therapists. All of those people, I think, could be considered to be facilitators of healing. I happen to think that we're responsible for healing ourselves, and certainly our animal companions are no different than us, and they are masterful, quite masterful at healing themselves. If we just give them the vehicle, something like canine massage therapy, something like animal communication, something like Reiki, to connect to as part of life force energy, if you will, and we'll get to that in just a second, which everybody needs to have replenished from time to time, and we'll talk about energy here in just a little bit. The other thing that science has discovered is that we are electrical. The human body is electrical. The animal body is electrical. Plants have electricity. Crystals have electricity. The world around us is electrical. Cells emit energy: light, heat, electricity, magnetism, and sound. As we talked earlier, some of these can be seen, some cannot. All can be measured and changed. And there are electrical fields that surround the physical body that science calls bioelectric energy fields. These fields are different than what can be measured, for instance, via EKG for heart or EEG for brain waves, due to the energy vibrations that happen at a much higher level. And it was way back in 1975 that a woman by the name of Valerie Hunt from UCLA was actually able to measure bioelectric fields. And if you just Google bioelectric field machine or measurement machines, I'm confident that you'll come up with a number of different machines that are kind of different prototypes, if you will, and have built upon the machine that Dr. Hunt originally came up with. And certainly if anybody out there has a smartphone, which I think is probably the majority of us here tonight, you may well know that for capacitive touch, meaning via electrical touch phones, they don't work well with you wearing gloves because the phone needs the electrical touch, if you will, the electricity from your finger to make the phone work. And so they've actually come up with different gloves that you can buy that have sensors built into the pads of the gloves that will enable your smartphone to work outside when you're wearing gloves, etc. So that's just kind of another more modern day thing, if you will, about how our bodies we're built to be electrical machines basically, and still are electrical machines. So I'd invite everybody now, you don't have to necessarily stand up, but you can sit where you are. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna play with our own bioelectric fields, because I think it's important to really be able to sense what this bioelectric field and energy feels like on a physical level, because I'm a big one for it's experiencing things. I learn best that way. Some people are other kinds of learners who learn just by listening. But I think with something like this, and as far as being able to really locate the intuitive muscle, I think it's pretty important that you be able to feel what this electrical bioelectric field is like. So you can stand up or sit down, that's up to you. I would invite you to, wherever you are, put your feet first of all flat onto the ground, hips probably about shoulder width apart. Rub your hands together just so briefly, and then put your arms hip width apart, hands facing each other with fingers slightly closed and hands cupped. So your hands are going to basically look like this. Okay, I don't want no fingers like this, no starfish fingers. We're going to have our hands basically cupped like this. It works definitely best if you don't focus on your hands and you just focus on the sensation between your hands. So I would invite you to close your eyes, and let's take a couple of deep breaths in and out. And all we're going to do is bring our attention and awareness to the space between our hands. And take another couple of breaths in and out. Nice, slow, even, deep breaths. Kind of feel everything fade to the background. And as I said, just bring your attention and awareness to the space between your hands. And what I invite you to do now is to very slowly but surely start moving your hands together. Ever so slowly, ever so gently. And what I invite you to do is I want you to stop whenever you feel the slightest bit, and it's going to be pretty subtle at first, the slightest bit of resistance. There may be a slight warmth, there may be a slight tingling in your hands. And if you get to the point where your hands are all the way closed together, go ahead, take a deep breath, open your eyes up, bring your hands further apart again. Take those other kind of cleansing breaths and kind of start over, but slowly but surely move your hands closer together. If you've gotten to the point where you can feel this little ball of energy in between your hands, I'd invite you to play with it just a little bit. Go ahead and move your hands around it. See if you can feel if the energy shifts or change depending upon what shape you'd like it to take. And then at some point go ahead and pull your hands apart and see if you can feel what happens to the energy between your hands. Does it become a little cooler perhaps, maybe less dense in feeling? And then go ahead and bring your hands closer together again and see what happens to that little ball of energy. So everybody's playing with their bioelectric field. That's a cool thing. For some of you out there, you might already be able to feel with your hands, because I think everybody has this capability. If you were to run your hand, specifically your non-dominant hand, over the top of, say, the body of a dog or of a cat or another animal, starting at the crown and just kind of very slowly moving it all the way down the neck, over the shoulders, the upper back, the lower back, and down through the hips again, you may very well be able to feel areas of heat and areas of coolness. And that just kind of, for me, reinforces that we all have the ability for self-healing, and we also all have the ability, I believe, to facilitate that self-healing for other people, and certainly other animals, plants, crystals. The list is basically limitless, absolutely. If you'd like, I'd invite you to maybe pick a partner. If you're sitting there with someone, hold up your hands either opposite each other. This is kind of a fun exercise to do if you want to do